So let's start with the quarterback position. And unlike our situation last year, where it was a guessing game as to who was going to emerge with the job, of course, Jalen Milroe took it, ran with it, had a bit of a stumbling block against Texas, had to watch the USF game, and then boom, learned a lot and took control after that. Comes in 23 touchdowns, 6 interceptions from last year, 12 rushing touchdowns. Just your thoughts about Jalen Milroe, his development, what more you would like to see out of him this spring going into summer camp?
We saw a lot out of him last year, Mark, in terms of just the exponential growth. He took so much leaps and bounds after the struggle there against Texas, though he made some plays in that game. Being benched against South Florida and had to watch that game with Tyler Buckner in there, but of course Ty Simpson coming in relief on those two big 80-yard touchdown drives there to win 17-3. From the Ole Miss game to throughout the remainder of the season, we saw huge growth from Milroe from a passing standpoint as well as a running standpoint. Also, what I want to see him take another step is his decision-making, but also the accuracy and the timing on short to intermediate passing routes, 10 to 15 yards on either side of the boundary. That's an area of his game that he struggled with a season ago, and I want to see him make that improvement in hitting those receivers on either side there of the boundary. Also, the decision-making in terms of knowing what you want to do with the ball quickly, not holding on to the ball so long. Of his 44 sacks he took last year, quite a few of those were him holding onto the ball entirely too long. So making quicker decisions within his reads, and then also that short to intermediate passing game, getting an uptick more is what I want to see from him.
Stephen, Julian Sayin made a decision to move on to Ohio State. Ty Simpson has been in the program a few years. What does the backup quarterback battle look like?
It's going to be intriguing, man, when you look at Ty Simpson, Dylan Larnigan, and the transfer from Washington, Austin Mack, who followed Kalen DeBoer. So going to be intriguing to see which one of those three ends up being the primary backup, or could one of those three possibly take the job from Milroe in spring ball? It's going to be very interesting. You got Ty Simpson, who does have knowledge of the system, been in here going on his third year, in the program. A young man that came in the 2022 class, former five-star from Westview High School in Martin, Tennessee, a guy that does have a strong arm talent. You look at Dylan Larnigan, who came in the 2023 class from a powerhouse high school, Brookwood High, in Georgia. So he has a lot of promise himself, played high school baseball and football at Brookwood before coming to Alabama. And then you have Austin Mack, of whom has a lot of familiarity with this Kalen DeBoer type of system. A guy that's 6'6", 220 pounds, possesses a lot of promise. So all three of these guys are in the running to either be more than just the primary backup, but one of these three is looking to maybe take the starting job from Milroe. So it's going to be very fun to watch this quarterback room here in spring practice.
We got Stephen M. Smith of Touchdown Alabama. This is our yearly jaunt as we get prepared for spring practice. We reel in Stephen. We say, hey, let's run down the roster position by position and break things down for everyone. Getting excited about Alabama spring practice, and for the first time since 2006 without Nick Saban. All right, let's move on to running backs. Of course, Jace McClellan has made his decision to go to the NFL draft. He will be showing his athleticism at the NFL Combine in Indianapolis. Roydell Williams has moved on to Florida State. Much different running back room in regards to experience, but I got to think that Justice Haynes is the guy that everybody's looking for.
He is the guy. I mean, it is his turn. It's his time. Tremendous talent. A former five-star in the 2023 class from, by the way, Buford High School. I mean, here's a young man that really, the latter part of the season, started to get some carries, and people were like, whoa, why didn't we see more of this early on? Especially in the matchup against Michigan, he was ripping up chunk yardage plays, and you have him, but he will be joined by Jam Miller, a guy that came in the 2022 class by the way of Tyler, Texas. And Jam Miller kind of reminds you of a Kenyon Drake, kind of a Josh Jacobs type guy. He's got the speed. He's got soft hands coming out the backfield. Of course, we saw that. He caught a wheel route pass from Jalen Milroe for a touchdown in the SEC championship matchup against Georgia. So we know what Jam Miller can provide. And then you have Richard Young, who came in the same class with Justice Haynes, a young man from Florida. And Richard Young, big speed, big power, big explosiveness capability. So you really like what Young can bring to the table. And then you have two freshmen in the likes of Kevin Riley from Tuscaloosa County High School, who flipped from Miami to Alabama in the recruiting circuit. And then you got Daniel Hill, a four-star guy at 6'2", 240 pounds, big, running back right there that can plow through some people. He's even got some soft hands coming out the backfield as well to catch the football. You got to feel like Kevin Riley and Daniel Hill will be asked to sit for at least a year and learn behind the three guys in front of them. So you've got Justice Haynes, you've got Jam Miller, and you got Richard Young heading up the backfield here.
Stephen, with your knowledge of what this roster has looked like for years and years and years, can you give us a comp on Miller and especially Haynes in regards to the running backs in the past that maybe they remind you of anybody in particular?
Well, right now, Justice Haynes has got a lot of Najee Harris. He's got a lot of Najee. Athleticism, the burst, the movement, can do some of everything in the way that Najee could. Now, he's got Najee's athleticism, but the core strength and toughness, there's a lot of Bo Scarborough there. When you look at Justice Haynes also, funny I mentioned Bo Scarborough. Scarborough is one that actually has been mentoring Justice Haynes quite a bit. So he's got some Najee Harris. He's also got some Bo Scarborough. Jam Miller, I go back to, he's got a lot of Josh Jacobs. Jam Miller's got that pinball ability, that contact balance, does not go down with one guy, can stay up and get yards after contact. But where Kenyon Drake comes in, he's got the hands out the back for to catch the football. And he's got speed. He's got more speed than people give Jam Miller credit for. So I like that comp in terms of Kenyon Drake. When I look at a Richard Young, there's a lot there. There's a little Mark Ingram there. There's a little Josh Jacobs there. There's a little Damian Harris there. There's just a mixture of quite a few guys. When you look at Richard Young, there's some Derrick Henry there. I mean, he's got a mixture of about 4 or 5 backs. When you look at Richard Young, from the subtle quickness to the burst in and out the hole to when he hits the edge, there's a lot to like about Richard Young.
Talking Alabama football, getting you set for spring practice here with Stephen M. Smith of Touchdown Alabama. Steve's been joining us, 7, 8, 9 years, something like that, breaking down Bama football.
About 10, Mark. About 10 years.
It's been a long time, Stephen. We have tapped you so many times. We appreciate you so much. And Stephen's expertise and his knowledge of the Alabama personnel is definitely near the top. And you can catch him Monday, Wednesday, Friday right here on YouTube at 6:30 Central. In my own words, it's a great listen. Alabama football, the SEC across the board. Stephen, this wide receiver position has been one we've talked about considerably. I don't know that it's probably beyond expectation that it can reach that 2019-20 status. That is just otherworldly that we've only seen on rare occasions out of a program. Maybe Clemson has reached it at times, and Ohio State possibly recently. But last year's group was a decent group. Ja'Cory Brooks moves on, had a disappointing year this past year, but he certainly made his big catches in an Alabama uniform. Isaiah Bond moves on to Texas, takes 48 catches with him, and Jermaine Burton, 8 touchdown receptions. He's off to the NFL draft. So a lot of new names, a lot of young players going to vie for reps here.
And a lot of young names that get a chance to step up and show who they are. And to start this off with, Kobe Prentice comes back. We saw what he did as a freshman, had 31 catches in the 2022 campaign. This past year, Prentice took a step forward. You got it right there on screen, Mark. 18 catches for him, 2 of those were touchdowns. So there's Kobe Prentice, the pride of Calera High School here in the Alabama area. You got Kendrick Law behind him, and he is a Deebo Samuel type. This is a young man that you can put him anywhere on the field, and he can make something happen for you. was not utilized in the way that we would have liked for him to be a season ago. But now got a chance to get more out of him. Really like what Kendrick Law can bring from a speed standpoint, a hand standpoint, a route standpoint. He can block. Really good blocking receiver as well. So there's a lot to enjoy there about Kendrick Law. Can also be used on special teams. Then you got Emmanuel Henderson, an E-man who came out of high school as one of the top running backs in the country, got moved to wide receiver. The reason why, Jam Miller, a bit more build on him than Emmanuel Henderson. That's what pushed Henderson to wide receiver. But he's a guy that's got all the tools that you like to have at that position. He's back. But after him, you got a guy like Cole Adams, who can play receiver. He can be a good return man. So he's back, another young name there. And then you dive into Jeremy Bernard, the transfer from Washington. He spent some time in Michigan State before joining Kagan DeBoer at Washington. He comes in, so he's already got Power 5 football experience. Looking forward to see what he does. He will take over for the departed Isaiah Bond, who's now at Texas. And then you got some young guys. There's some freshmen. When you talk Amari Jefferson, who came in this class from Tennessee, just a very smooth wideout throughout his entire high school career. You got Rico Scott, whom Alabama pulled in from Pennsylvania. The last Pennsylvania receiver Alabama recruited, you got to go back to 2013, that picked up Robert Foster from Central High School in Monica, Pennsylvania. Now, Robert Foster had 4.21 type speed, but Foster, of course, he had some injuries that kind of robbed us of what he could have been. Had the shoulder issue in 2015 against Ole Miss, and then he had another slight issue there injury-wise. But when he was able to be on the field, you did see the speed, you saw the burst, you saw the go-go jets he had on him. So you pick up Rico Scott from that Pennsylvania area. Excited to see what he can do, what he can give, what he can provide. And then you pick up Ryan Williams, just the absolute stud from Saraland High School, reclassified to come out in this 2024 class. That's how good that young man is. But he will not arrive to the summer. Not a spring guy, he's a summer guy. So we'll see what he does in the summer. But the most intriguing thing here, Mark, is King of Oldham, the four-star tight end from Carrollton High School in Georgia. He has announced on social media he will move to wide receiver. Very interesting here, because King of Oldham at tight end would get, immense on-field playing time at the tight end position. But with him moving to wide receiver, because Washington, Kagan DeBoer has brought in Josh Culis, a former Washington tight end, to Alabama. Now you push King of Oldham to wide receiver to be kind of a hybrid type of player. It's going to be fun to see how quickly does that young man get on the field from a wide receiver aspect. So you lose guys with Burton going to the NFL and with Isaiah Bond and Ja'Cory Brooks finding other places, but you got a roster stacked to the deck with talent, led by guys such as Kobe Prentice and Kendrick Law being back on his Alabama roster. You also have to throw in Jalen Hale and Jaron Hamilton as well. So that the talent's there. It's just now, which of these young guys is ready to take the reins to be that wide receiver one here?
Hale had 5 catches and a touchdown in 2023. Don't want to put too much on Williams. As you mentioned, he's coming in later, not an early enrollee for him to break out and do any special this fall. But in terms of top end potential, is he the guy, or how would you rank them in regards to that, superstar potential?
Still, superstar potential, I would look at Ryan Williams as the guy as far as superstar potential. Now, of course, Kobe Prentice is a star, and he's got star potential. A guy like Kendrick Law has star potential. Jalen Hale has star potential. A lot of these guys have the athletic gifts and skill set, but as far as just a guy that can come in and really truly sort of take over with what he can do, Ryan Williams is a guy that has the potential, the skill set, the confidence to really come in here and say, I'm him. I'm that guy. And a lot of people are just waiting with bated breath for his arrival when he comes in the summer to be a part of those 7-on-7 11 on 11 type deals, the summer workout, the fall camp, if you will, to get to work with Jamarcus Shepard as the wide receivers coach coming over here from Washington. So Williams carries the marquee star-studded potential, but all the guys on this roster, they all have the ability to kind of separate themselves from the pack. It's just which one will absolutely do it.
Stephen, you mentioned the tight end coming in from Washington. And then we also have, of course, the transfer from Maryland from a year ago. CJ Dupre had 11 catches. How do we stand at tight end?
Right now, tight end, I think Dupre is still the guy. I think he's still the number one tight end here with it being him. And then behind him, you got Robbie Oots, of whom I think you'll use more of an H-back, blocking back type of guy, though he does have the hands to catch the football. So I look at Dupre number one. I look at Oots kind of as your H-back. I think your number two tight end could very well be Josh Cubas. I think he's going to be your number two. I think he's going to very well be your number two because you got, Ty Lockwood, who's still growing. He came in that 2023 class. And then you can add in Jay Lindsey in this 2024 class, who's a freakish athlete, but I think he's going to need some time to grow and develop as well. So I think Cubas is number two. I think number one is CJ Dupre, and you got Robbie Oots as your blocking fullback, H-back type of guy that can slip out the backfield and catch the football.
Stephen M. Smith, Touchdown Alabama. And of course, the show is In My Own Words. It's every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday right here on YouTube at 6:30 Central. And Stephen, we've arrived at the all-important offensive line position. Caden Proctor, Seth McLaughlin, they head to respective Big Ten teams. J.C. Latham, I believe it was stated this week by himself and a number of NFL scouts that he believes he can play left tackle at the next level. So there's some spots to be filled here this spring.
There are, Mark, and thankfully for Alabama, you got three guys back that have a huge experience. When you look at Tyler Booker, he comes back on that offensive line along that interior. You have Jaden Roberts, massive young man right there who got the start against Texas A&M last year, and from that game throughout the season provided his size, his physicality, his growth there along the interior. And then you have Elijah Pritchett, who played a handful of games as well as an offensive tackle. So those three guys are back. Then you bring in Parker Brailsford from Washington, the transfer center, who gave only one sack last year to Michael Penix Jr., who finished up as a 4,000-yard passer and a Heisman finalist this past year at Washington. Then you also bring in Nikhil Bertrand, transfer from Texas A&M, who's at 6'6", 340 pounds or so. That could be an offensive tackle as well. So you got depth there at that position along the offensive line, but you got 3 to 4 guys back when you talk Booker, Roberts, Pritchett, but of course the transfer Brailsford, who's got, marquee playing experience in college football.
Stephen, is there anyone who just signed in this 2024 class that could possibly have a shot at making an impact, getting some reps?
Well, you signed 3 guys in this recent class here, Mark. You talk about Joseph Ionata of a 3-star from Clearwater, Florida, who can be an offensive guard or a tackle. At the collegiate level, he may be more so projected as a tackle. You look at Will Sanders, a big, massive offensive guard from Brookwood High School here in the state of Alabama at 6'4", 290 pounds. And you got big Casey Poe, offensive lineman, 4-star from the Texas area, by the way, of Lindale, Texas. Casey Poe, more so looked at as a guard as well. So those 3 guys, Ionata, Poe, and Will Sanders, we'll see which one of these guys will be able to push and compete for a starting spot here in the spring. It'll be kind of difficult because Alabama signed in a massive haul of offensive linemen in the 2023 class. Yes, Caden Proctor goes back home to Iowa, hooking up there with the Hawkeyes in the Big Ten, but you still have Wilkin Formby, who came in the 2023 class from Northridge High School here in Tuscaloosa. You still have Omas Enganine, by the way of Finland, and came from a high school in Connecticut, but hometown of Finland, he's in here. You have Big Miles McVay, by the way of St. Louis, Missouri. And then you have Rock Montgomery by the way of Anniston High School here in Alabama as well. So the three guys, Ionata, Poe, and Will Sanders, it's going to be a fight for those three. It's going to be a push because you're competing against heavy talent in that 2023 class that came in.
Well, Stephen, in about 6 weeks after that A-Day game, I'm going to be asking you, has anybody made a move? Has anything been figured out? So we'll give you 6 weeks to sort some of that stuff out.